Welcome back to another episode. And you know we gotta start out with a Godzilla fact. Today's Godzilla fact is Godzilla fact number 66. And this is in reference to the original 1950s version. But there are 3 versions of this movie. The American version cuts out all references of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And it replaces it with some stuff about with a Canadian guy. But they cut it out because they didn't want any talk of the nuclear bombs.
Weird.
Yeah.
I think it is a little weird that it says there's 3 versions, but then leaves you hanging on the other 2.
Oh, there's an Italian version.
Okay. So it is there?
Yeah.
Is it like kind of... Yeah.
That's the 3rd version. And that's your Godzilla fact of the week.
My name is Alfred Hitchcock, and I would like to tell you about my forthcoming lecture. It is about the birds and their age-long relationship with man. It will be seen in theaters like this across the country. In my lecture, I hope to make you all aware of our good friends, the birds. Theirs is a noble history, and through it all, man has played a conspicuous part. The story of man and his friends, the birds, is filled with many fine examples of ways in which these noble creatures have added to the beauty of the world.
Hey there, socialites, lawyers, lovebirds, and seagulls.
Welcome to another episode of What Happens in the Crypt.
Today, we're talking about Alfred Hitchcock's 1963 classic, The Birds.
This movie was written by Evan Hunter and was actually based on a book by the same name written by Daphne du Maurier? Maurier. By her. This was the 3rd of her stories made into a movie.
By Alfred Hitchcock, actually.
Interesting.
Yep, big fan of her work, apparently.
A brief synopsis. A wealthy San Francisco socialite pursues a potential boyfriend to a small Northern California town that slowly takes a turn for the bizarre when birds of all kinds suddenly begin to attack people.
Except lovebirds.
Mm-hmm. And then, trigger warnings, it's pretty heavy on the gore.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay. I guess.
There's like that scene where the guy's eyes are gouged out.
Oh, yeah.
And when they find the dead teacher.
Okay, you've sold me.
Okay.
That is, yeah.
I think that's the only trigger warning.
If you're afraid of birds,
yeah,
this isn't gonna help.
Mm-hmm.
Taglines include suspense and shock beyond anything you have seen or imagined.
See, I told you they were written for you.
It could be the most terrifying motion picture I have ever made.
You gonna do them all?
You do the next one.
No, it's not gonna be as good.
Nothing you have ever witnessed before has prepared you for such sheer stabbing shock.
I'll do this one. The birds is coming. That's the whole tagline. They're coming.
They're coming. And remember, the next scream you hear could be your own.
Yep. Good job.
I was born to read taglines.
Mm-hmm.
Have a sip, it's National Drinking Day. Also known as Happy Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. So Happy Memorial Day. Yep. That's when we recorded this. So I guess when you're listening to this, it's Happy Hangover Day.
Mm-hmm.
An account of all the day drinking you did today.
Yep. To start off, we're going to talk about some of the locations for the birds.
Because, actually, like, it's something like 65% of this wasn't shot in a studio. But back then, most movies were shot largely in studio. But this was mostly shot on location.
So the schoolhouse in Bodega, California, is apparently known to be super haunted, which, of course, Alfred Hitchcock loved, and basically once he found out that it was supposed to be haunted, insisted that they filmed there. Tippi Hedren, who played Melanie, said, quote, "The building was immensely populated, but there was no one there," end quote, which is pretty spooky. It looks haunted.
Yeah.
Even like those scenes, especially like when those kids are singing.
Oh, yeah.
It's just real eerie.
Mm-hmm. And like from the outside, it looks like a place you would try to like when you're in high school, go break into and walk around.
Yeah.
The diner scene that was also shot in the town was shot at a real diner called the Tides Restaurant. Then owner Mitch Zankich? Mitch Zankich said they could actually shoot there for free, but he had some demands to make before they could actually shoot there.
Which I actually think this is hilarious that they actually did it. But, like, who do you think you are to be like, you want to use my restaurant for a scene? Name your main dude after me.
Yeah,
like...
so that's where they got the main character's name. He also wanted them to not change the city's name in the movie, so they kept it Bodega Bay. And then lastly, he wanted to be in it. So, what does he say to him? He's like, he just has one simple line. So he's like,
He says,
like, what happened, Mitch?
Yeah.
So that's the actual owner of the restaurant in the movie. And those were his demands.
He probably was, like, so proud of that till the day he fucking died.
He probably put a picture, like, of him in the movie up on the wall. That's the story. He gets drunk and tells everybody all the time, even though they've all heard it.
Probably, like, on his tombstone.
They shot the birds here. In my restaurant.
They named that guy after me. This movie also uses a ton of actual birds, which seems insane for what some of these scenes are.
Wasn't it they had over 3,000?
Yeah. 3,200 were trained, it says.
That's so many birds.
That's so many birds. And it's a little sad because, like, as well, go into it, but Ray Berwick was the head trainer for the birds, and he later reflected on the experience and admitted that the birds in the film could never be released or adopted out because they were trained exclusively to attack.
That's sad.
That is depressing.
Do they just keep them until they die?
I bet he kept them for other movies, but, like, what a quality of life that is, you know?
Yeah, they all have to be, like, kept together in the same place.
And so they couldn't be, like, socialized or handled or let free because
if they let them free, the birds would just happen
that
for
would
real.
literally happen, yeah. So that was really sad. It's not like our, like, three little seagulls from the lighthouse where he loved them. Not that
and
this
it's
guy...
only 3.
And I don't think that they, like, were intending to do anything, like, harmful to the birds. It's just, like, it was an oversight, you know? The ASPCA was actually on set for the entire film as well, and they built a, like, aviary bird hospital on the set to take care of birds if they were injured.
What does that stand for?
American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals.
I wasn't even close. Alfred Hitchcock said that apparently ravens were the cleverest to work with, and the seagulls were the most vicious.
I don't want to believe the seagulls were vicious. I have such a soft spot for them now.
I know, ever since the lighthouse. I knew ravens were smart because if you get a raven as a pet, you have to raven-proof your house.
Weird.
Because
What
they'll
does
like
that mean, though?
they'll take things apart, open like drawers, cabinets. They'll get into stuff, and I think they like shiny things, so they'll just take stuff.
So wild.
But they'll like take a phone apart. They'll like a raven is like as smart as like a kid.
Yeah,
like
they're
a 4 or
like
5-year-old.
destructive smart too because they get bored.
Yeah. But seagulls, I think, are not as intelligent.
No. As far as motivating the birds, apparently they were fed a mixture of whiskey and red meat, and that was to help them to like stand around, like just hang out.
Do they like whiskey?
I don't know.
Did they turn these birds into alcoholics?
I don't know, but it's just weird. It's just to like sedate them.
Yeah. I guess also if somebody was giving me meat and whiskey, I wouldn't want to leave. Just be like,
So they'd hang out.
this is pretty good.
And Hitchcock also had cinematographer Robert Burks and his camera operators tie meat to the cameras to get the seagulls to fly at the lens directly, which in the movie there are quite a few shots where the bird like hits the camera.
Yeah. And I'm sure they actually flew into the camera trying to get them. Do seagulls like mainly eat meat?
They are like, I'm pretty sure they're like garbage pickers. They're like the
they eat
raccoons of
anything.
the bird
Oh,
world.
I guess if you did the same. I guess meat has a strong smell too. That makes sense. I just like line the camera with chips.
Yeah. Meat was probably the easiest to do.
I'm sure it was just they had a bunch of hot dogs. When audiences left the UK premiere of the movie, they were greeted by the sound of screeching and the flapping of birds that was played from loudspeakers just to terrify them.
Which is hilarious, too, because you remember it in Schitt's Creek. That's what they did
Yes.
for the crows.
Wasn't it? I thought it was like the crowing
I think
or
it is
something
the
like
crowing.
that.
It's so funny, though.
Moira all done up as a bird. It's hilarious. That show's so funny.
I'm ready for a rewatch, I think.
Also in attendance of the premiere were 2 flamingos, 50 red cardinals and starlings, and 6 penguins. I'm down for a remake of the birds, but it's just penguins.
Oh, they're too cute to be vicious.
That's why it would be funny, because like some of them would have like clothes on.
They're so slow.
One just waddles up to somebody in like a Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses and just pecks them to death.
Ugh.
At the beginning of the movie, you'll see a man walking 2 dogs out of the pet shop, and reportedly the dogs were is that Jeffrey or Joffrey?
It's Jeffrey.
Jeffrey and Stanley.
Geoffrey.
The white terriers were actually Alfred Hitchcock's.
I mean, if you ever make a big movie, Palmer's going to be in it in some capacity. Little cameo.
Little puppy cameo.
It's like some gory zombie movie, and she just pokes around the corner and cries. I saw this on a couple different websites, and I just thought it was more comical than anything, but apparently there are no scenes in the film that show anyone being covered in bird droppings. How they managed that is kind of
I could only imagine
wild.
Being on that cleanup crew, because everything would be covered in blood.
Yeah, especially like the scenes that were like in the house.
Yeah.
Like the attic scene and stuff. That
I worked on a set with 3 birds once, and I had to clean up poop like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, they poop a lot.
They do poop a lot. And
And
they also...
what did we say? 3,200
3,200.
birds? Yeah. There'd be poop everywhere.
And imagine the scenes, because like the school one, where they're on the playground, and they're just covered in birds.
Yeah.
They would have to... that would be the worst job.
Yeah.
Bird wrangling is tough. You'll notice in this movie that there are some birds that are obviously not real. They look like they were green screened. But this movie was actually made way before green screen was a thing. And to do this, it's like kind of called yellow screen, but it is a process with sodium vapor. And it was a technology that only Disney had because it was so expensive to do.
Interesting.
So they had to ask Disney's help to do it. But apparently they kept running into the problem of... Well, first off, they could barely do it. It was a brand new technology. But you'll notice some of the birds kind of look out of place because the flapping... The birds flapping their wings so fast, they couldn't correctly do it. So it has all that like weird fringing.
Yeah.
And when they're flapping their wings, you see like extra white, but that was just because it was a process that wasn't really perfected.
Yeah, and like weirdly, when we watched this after not having seen this for many years, it held up really well. It doesn't look... It doesn't look like a bunch of fake puppets. Well, we know that there's real birds involved, but like all the effects definitely hold up.
Apparently in this movie, there were 370 effects shots using this process.
Is that a lot?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a lot. The crow attack with the kids alone took 6 weeks to accomplish, but this was also because it was such a new process. Only 3 people knew how to do it.
Oh my god.
Or could do it, yeah. So apparently they had to work 11-hour days.
That sounds horrible.
I'm sure they got paid very well.
One of the funnier effects that I read about was that the scenes where you see the birds trying to like get through the door, they actually had hammers that they glued like what looked like beaks and bird heads to the hammers. So it was just a person hammering the door.
That's so funny.
So that it looked like the little beak was like coming through.
I was wondering how they did it because I was like, is obviously not birds doing
Yeah.
it. It looks weird.
It looks weird, but I like the idea of thinking about the other side of the door, and it's like 5 guys with hammers.
Just 2 hammers each.
It's just trying to make it look like the birds are trying to break in.
I'd like to think one of them was going like, caw, caw.
Yeah, probably.
Not necessarily behind the scenes, but I definitely thought this was interesting, was that a Barbie doll was specifically made, and I think it was like the 45th anniversary or something, to be based on Melanie Daniels. And not only did it look like her, have the same green suit she wore, but it also came with 3 detachable crows.
I do really want it. I'm a little sad how expensive it is.
Yeah, it's like $300 now.
Yeah.
But it looks so good. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm. We'll post a picture of it.
I've never wanted a Barbie before, but this would be the one.
Yeah.
The crows are so funny too.
We're not going to go into it a ton, but Alfred Hitchcock is not really a good person, and he definitely has a lot of, allegations against him about things that he did to specifically Tippy on
Actually,
the set
several
of
people.
Several women, though. But he also, it almost feels like kind of pranky, like some of the things he would do, but
Him and like Kubrick.
really
and
sadistic,
there's some really what's the word? I don't know. Like world-renowned directors that use their power over people poorly.
Yeah. So
just to get a shot.
Right. Because wasn't it, what was it, The Exorcist, where the dude would shoot a gun to get scared reactions?
Yeah, and The Shining, he locked Danny in that cabinet
stuff
for
about
real.
The Shining is really
pushed
sad.
him into that room and shut the door on him so that reaction was real.
Yeah.
He pushed him in, waited until he started crying, banging on the door, and then he opened it and told the cameras to roll.
Mm-hmm. Ugh, horrible.
Mm-hmm.
That scene in the attic where Melanie opens the door and all of the birds have gotten in through a hole in the roof in the attic, and she gets attacked. She was assured by Hitchcock that it would only be mechanical birds in this room, and the shot that's actually in the movie is her genuine reaction, because she opened the door, goes in, there's not just real birds, but there are prop men in there throwing birds at her, and so she was genuinely terrified.
Imagine showing up that day and the director is like, so listen, when she walks in,
you're gonna throw a bird at her.
Throw a bird at her.
Yeah.
Does she know it's gonna happen? No. Just do it.
It's pretty sad, though, too. She got pretty hurt filming this. She actually got gouged on her cheek near her eye, and she ended up being hospitalized for a week. And from different sources, it was said that it was from exhaustion from doing this shoot, which took 5 days.
It was also probably the bird wounds.
Yeah. And,
exhaustion.
And
bird
trauma.
wound. Yeah.
Being traumatized, perhaps.
Yeah.
But, it's horrible. Speaking of weird treatment towards the actors, the scenes of the crow attack on the children when they leave the school. So, of course, they shot that on location in front of the schoolhouse, but then they later got some of the kids to come back to a studio where they made them run on treadmills with the footage behind them.
Yeah, so they could lengthen the scene.
And they said, too, that they made the treadmills really fast, so the kids looked panicked because they were trying not to fall off.
Yep, and they still, and they had more birds.
And literally more birds were attacking these children.
Uh-huh.
So not only are you going to get attacked by a crow, but you're on a treadmill that's going too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like something from that Super Fight game.
Oh, yeah.
Like a stipulation.
I have a group of children who are running on a treadmill that's too fast. And they're getting attacked by crows.
Uh-huh.
I think we play that when we have all of our friends together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the funniest one that won 5 times in a row was it Armless
Dexter.
Dexter, but he's Dexter, who's 20 feet tall.
20 feet tall, but no arms.
But no arms. In that scene where Melanie is attacked by the birds near the end of the movie, The birds were actually attached to her clothes by long nylon threads so that they could not get away. So that it would
horrible.
keep looking like she was, like, it was like, because it's a long attack.
Right.
But that's just another... I'm sure she got hurt in that scene too, because when a bird is like, okay, I'm going to fly away, and then it can't, it's going to panic
trapped.
and then attack. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Mess.
Yeah, this movie would not be made this way today.
No.
But at the same time, it'd be a CGI shit show.
Show me your faces! Show me your eyes!
One thing you'll notice is that Melanie is wearing that same green suit throughout the whole movie. Apparently, Tippi Hedren was provided with 6 identical suits.
I don't know what it was called, but I read that this specific suit, because she wore it the whole time, like they had started calling it a specific color green they named after her, like Tippy Green or something.
That's cool.
Which I thought was interesting.
Thank goodness there are no actual plans to make a reboot of this, but unfortunately there was a sequel made in 1994.
I'd like to see a clip of this. I'm just curious more than anything.
It is called The Birds 2: Land's End. And it premiered on Showtime. 94, ooh.
Yeah, yikes.
And
It's
apparently
a bad time for special effects.
Apparently it was also low budget. But Tippi was actually in it. She made an appearance. She does not play the same character. She plays a new character named Helen. Glad I wrote that down for some reason.
Yeah. Her name was Helen.
That her name was Helen. But now you know that. Now you can't unknow that.
The final shot of this movie is obviously super iconic. That's where they walk out of the house, and it's like endless for miles as far as you can see, birds on top of everything. So this was composed of 3 panels of matte paintings and multiple film layers and 32 separate exposures, leading Hitchcock to call this the most difficult single shot he's ever done.
Yeah.
The scene combined live birds, animated birds, mechanical birds, and the car driving towards the matte painting backdrop.
That would take so long. There'd be so much prep time on that one shot.
Looks really cool, though.
It does look very cool.
Another thing about the ending was this is the only Hitchcock movie that doesn't have the title card that says the end. That's because he wanted you to feel like the terror could still continue.
It's not ending. Another idea that Hitchcock had for a different ending was to go back to, they make it back to San Francisco, and upon arrival they see the Golden Gate Bridge? Yeah, that's it. The Golden Gate Bridge, and it's entirely covered in birds.
I'm kind of glad they didn't do that.
I'm also glad they didn't do
that. They left it a little more open-ended.
Also, do you know how hard that would have been to do? They would have had to all be fake birds for sure. But that would have been way too much.
The scene where Melanie is in the boat and the first bird attack occurs, this is where the seagull swoops down and like hits her in the head. The seagull was actually hooked to a wire while blood plungers were hidden in her hair. And when the gull was let go down the wire and hits her in the head, a prop dude hit the plunger to have the blood gush out.
That's cool. That's so many steps.
Just for that little drop of blood.
Yeah, it's not even a lot.
The score for this movie was not traditional by any means, and it actually was synthesized birdcage and flapping bird noises that was designed by Oscar Sala and Remy Gassman using an electroacoustic mixture tritonium synthesizer.
I don't know what that means.
I don't even know if it's a real thing.
Cool. Well, it's a synthesizer. Well, just a type of synthesizer.
So any of the background noises is just like still bird noises.
Synth bird noises, though.
And editor George Tomasini.
Tommasini? It's like Tom Savini.
Tommasini.
But Tomasini. And just combined and not him.
Okay. Working with editor George Tomasini, Hitchcock also made an extensive use of the long, extended pause, creating an ambience as a prelude to when the next attacks would occur. So whenever there is dead silence, the birds are going to attack.
Highlighting how weird Hitchcock is, and how, this is like psychotic almost.
That's what I mean, where it's almost like it's like a prank, but it's not. And it's
Maybe he
weird.
thinks it's funny. Maybe he thought this was funny, but any normal person would be
Yeah.
like, what the
Right.
fuck? So on set, Tippi Hedren had her daughter there, and Hitchcock gave her a doll that looked just like Tippi.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, just one step creepier, it was in a coffin.
Yeah.
But it's like, why?
It's terrifying. She probably never brought her kid back to set again.
Probably not.
It's so
I
weird.
wonder if they kept it, though.
Yeah. Who knows?
I hope so. But that's so creepy. Mm-hmm. And apparently it was like a very ornate coffin.
It's just, what kid wants a doll of their mom? Also.
First off,
Just,
that's true, too.
just separately. That's
No kid
weird.
wants to doll. Yeah, but she was like, oh,
Like, thank you.
thanks. You know who I don't see enough of? My mom.
Right.
For our next movie, we will be talking about the 2000 horror thriller American Psycho.
Starring Christian Bale. This was written and directed by Mary Herron and co-written by Guinevere Turner.
I did not know it was directed and, well, not turned it into a screenplay by two women. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
I didn't know that either. I actually don't know anything about this movie, like,
Well, it
outside
was
of
a
seeing it a long
book.
time ago.
It
Yeah.
was a book first, and then they adapted it to a screenplay. It's one of those movies where I love it, but then there's the open ending where it's like, did it happen or didn't it? And I'm like, okay, but if it didn't happen, it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid, and I wasted my time.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Definitely need to watch it again.
Because, yeah. I mean, if it didn't happen, then a rich, hot guy had a little psychotic break because he wasn't making enough money. His business cards weren't good enough.
Yeah.
And if it did happen, then he's a serial killer, and it's cool. Mm-hmm. So,
Get into that next week.
yep. I'm sure I'll be mad. I don't know.
We'll see.